Welcome to Wendy's here in downtown Coffeyville for the Red Raven Coaches Show. On a rare Wednesday night, we are...
I have a commercial going.
Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah. Now I'm good.
Well, then it must be my headset.
Still a commercial.
That's incredible that you're hearing it and I'm not. I don't understand what's up with that. Red Raven Coaches Show here live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shay Neal. We're having a rare Wednesday night show this week with the game coming up against Fort Hays Tech tomorrow. We're joined by head coach Tony Turner here to start the show this week. And Coach, obviously a lot of season left to go, but I figured we'd start the show by giving you a big congrats for the first time this season. Your team now nationally ranked. They come in at number 23 in the polls that came out yesterday, and hard work these girls are putting together in these recent weeks and the big wins they were able to get last week. Finally now one of the top 25 teams in America. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's a big step for our program to get a number beside us and, put a little bigger bullseye on our back. But, no, I think our girls deserved it. They have been working hard and battling as a team, and it just goes a long ways. And, I said at the beginning of the year, college basketball is a marathon, man. It's a long season, and if the ones that can survive and stick together and battle through the good and bads are the ones that are standing there at the end.
Absolutely. And, obviously I know that all the focus right now is, well, I shouldn't say all the focus. You're always kind of looking ahead, but a majority of the focus is on this team and this season right now, but also kind of looking at the big picture, Coach, being now nationally ranked in back-to-back seasons and being top 5 in the conference. It looks like on your way to top 5 in the conference for 3 straight seasons as well. This is good for the program and for building a sustained, successful program where recruits want to be Ravens because it's a team that wins, it's a team that gets a lot of exposure, it's a team that has a brand with it, and getting stuff like national rankings and top 4 finishes and big wins at home against Dodge City, that's only going to help with getting future commits down the road.
Oh, yes. We do sell that family part of our program and just the hard work, my coaches, myself, we preach hard work, we preach family, and it's just, and then when you can put a number beside you and show, just show the recruits out there the hard work that we do and how much it does pay off for you with the hard work. And, no, it's a big step for our program to just continue, getting into those rankings and just being one of the top programs in the country.
Coach, we look back at your games from last week before we start talking about the homestand coming up, and obviously it started with a huge win over Dodge City with Carly Parker hitting a game-winning 3 with about a second on the clock. And I think that, you look back at, I know we're now 17 games into the season, and there's been some great moments in a lot of different games, but I tend to think that game against Dodge City, and maybe you disagree, was the best 40-minute display that this team has had all year, where for a full 40 minutes, there's been spurts, there's been quarters, there's been halves here and there, but that felt like the game where kind of everything, the defense, the rebounding, the free throw shooting, the clutch shots, all kind of came together, and that felt like what this team can be when they're playing at their best.
Oh, no question. That's when we had a little adversity in our team. We had 4 girls out and, with injuries, sicknesses, and I thought the crew that was out there stuck together and they battled and they just worked through all the good times, the bad times, and the main thing, we just stuck together against a very talented team, and, we put ourselves in a great position to win the game at the end of the game, and we won. And that just shows you, man, we try to coach 1 through 12 the whole year, and you just never know when we need somebody to step up.
Well, and we've talked about it before, Coach, on this show, that obviously, came up short against Hutchinson, but outscored them by 9 in the second half, and then you beat Dodge City, and then Dodge City goes out and beats Hutchinson. So the moral of the story is, through, looking at a few games on the landscape, but at the end of the day, this team has gone out and they've shown they can hang with anybody in this league. It doesn't matter if they're the number 4 team in the nation, the number 1 team in the nation, or any team in this conference or around the nation. This team has the talent, has the athleticism, has the speed, has the defense to hang with anybody that they play on any given night.
No, yes, and we are doing well. You mentioned the teams that we lost to, and I think part of that because we had young guards, and those guards are starting to understand how to play our system, understand their role. They got me out of their head a little bit, and they're just playing now and playing fearless and understand what's going on. And we've backed off of them a little bit and just kind of let them play through some of their mistakes and get better. And it's just showing on their growth on the court, which is helping us win, get some of those big-time wins.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about, your point guard who hit the shot to beat Dodge City, Carly Parker. And I think what's so unique about Carly and what makes her such an exciting player for this team and for the fans and for, the Red Raven Nation to just kind of keep an eye on when this team plays is she can do a little bit of everything, Coach. She can facilitate. She can rebound well for a guard. She can go out and score. She can hit some big-time shots. We've seen her do it in these last 2 games and all season long. And she's just, I think the overall theme I get with Carly, and we've talked about it this year, she's a freshman guard that doesn't play like a freshman, Coach. She goes out there, she does the little things, she does the big things, she does just about everything for this team.
No, it goes back to you play the way you practice. And one thing about Carly, she's going to give you 100% every day, no matter what drill we do. I mean, what's the circumstance? She's going to come out and go all out, battle, work, challenge each other. I mean, she's very positive in practice. She stays in those girls' ears about, one of them's down, she'll pick them up. I mean, it just, and it shows on the court. She gets in the gym. She's always, her and Haley and Ava are always the last ones to leave. If the men are coming on, they go to the volleyball gym and they shoot. And it's just showing her performance on the court on them game nights are showing you get out of it what you put into it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, of course, Hallie, and that's another player that has gotten better and better as the year's gone on, Coach, and she's now a staple in that starting 5, and she's gotten more efficient from beyond the arc. She's taking smart three-point shots, hitting a good portion of those shots. She's gotten more aggressive on the offensive end, and I think she's found her role very well in that starting 5 in that first unit. Probably not many nights where Hallie's going to go for 18 points, but Hallie is a consistent 6 to 8, even 10 points performance. She had 13 a couple games ago, so just a player that when she's out there, she's going to take smart shots, she's going to make smart plays, and she's going to give you about 8-10 points a night. And that's a very valuable player in this league.
Oh, it goes a long ways with our scheme of things. I mean, she's not out seeking her shots. She's just letting the game come to her. She's learned the system. I think early in the year she was just trying to figure out a way to fit in, and I think she was patient with because she wasn't starting early. I mean, she wasn't playing a whole lot, but she just kept grinding, coming to practice every day, working hard, being a great teammate, getting in the gym, being coachable, coming by, watching film, and just being a student of the game. And again, her patience, her hard work, her coachability, all that is paying off for her, and she's turned into a high-level guard.
Absolutely. And, Coach, I think, something that we've seen late in these games against Dodge and Barton, it's something I've talked about with Coach Herc, with Justin Taylor and Brian Griffith and some of these players that are on the men's team, that they're just big game players, and that no matter if they have 20 points on 80% shooting or if they have 2 points on 20% shooting, seems like they play their best when the game's on the line late. And we've seen that from your group this last handful of games, Coach, where players like Norika Welch, players like Carly, players like Hallie, players like Karis, players like, even some other contributors. Alexis, I thought, had a really good game against Barton. It seems like when the game's on the line, maybe it makes you stress out a little bit more, but in that final 5-6 minutes when the game's on the line, it really feels like your team embraces that challenge, embraces that moment.
No, yes, and it just goes back to the beginning of the year. We get to where we're at now. We hold those kids accountable in practice. You're paying attention to details, and that's one of our keys to winning every game, details, because, we're going to make changes. And I just feel like they pay attention, they work hard, their IQ is good. And, as a coach, you always want it better. But, no, they're growing. They've just been a fun group to coach, even through the good, the bad, the ugly, all that. They've been fun just watching this team develop, watching each individual player get better, and just how much more we're coming together as a team.
Coach, 14-3 and 9-3 in league play is a really good place to be around through conference play. But as we head into the second round of conference play, which of course starts tomorrow night with Fort Hays Tech, what's a thing or two about this team and all the good they've done, all the high-level moments they've had? But what's a thing or two that you're looking to see growth from this group in the second round against each team in the league?
Well, we definitely, Northwest Tech, or I call them 4 Days Tech, they won their last game. They've been fighting. The coach is doing a great job with them, just trying to get them some confidence. And like I said, they beat Independence the other night without their point guard, and they'll come in hungry. They'll come in ready to play. And if we overlook them, like we've done in the past, and they beat us. And when we get that number, it'll be interesting to see how we respond with the number behind us, and how much we stay humble, stay respectful with these teams coming up, and we want to come out and play hard. We've been focusing on the defensive side, and after practice, we had a coaches meeting talking about what do we want to get out of this game, what are some of the things we want to work on, and definitely rebounding, taking care of the basketball. A lot of our things is focused around defense, and so we want to see that our defense is solid and fundamentally sound, and just continue to get better.
Absolutely. Coach, you kind of read my mind about talking about this Tech matchup, but I think you bring up a good point where this is my now third season with around the program, I should say, and I think it's safe to say, and I know I don't have all the ins and outs and all the player scouts, but I think that this is probably the most consistent, best defense that you've had in the 3 seasons that I've been here. I don't think you've ever had a poor defense, but I think this is probably the most consistent defense in terms of forcing turnovers, in terms of forcing contested shots. I think, and you alluded to it a couple weeks ago with the athleticism and the instincts and the IQ that these girls have on this year's team, and how they really embrace the defensive side of the ball. But I think at the same time, Coach, that we've seen it in games, the Barton game. We've seen it in other games at times this year where your team kind of gets off to a slow start offensively, or has a moment in the game where there's kind of a stretch offensively where they're struggling. And this team's defense, which is second in the Jayhawk last I checked, is strong enough and consistent enough that it keeps you in every game. And we talk all the time, Coach, that defense wins championships. And I think this team's a perfect example of that, where whether your offense is shooting 60% or 25%, this defense is good enough where it feels like you have a chance to win every time you take the court.
Yeah, and we talk about that, Shay, about, defense travels, offense don't always travel. And it's great when it does, but, if we can, when we are struggling offensively, if we can just get that right mindset about the defensive side of it, we can generate some offense where we're not having to settle for jump shots. We can, create some easy opportunities. And once you see that ball go through the bucket a few times, it just gets bigger and bigger. And we've been – our focus, and I think our girls, I keep talking about just our mindset of we got to guard. Yesterday in practice we practiced for 2 hours, I think 2.5 hours. It was a little running, getting a little toughness, and then the other part of it was just defense. And if we want to win this conference, or we want to win this region, we have to guard. So.
Absolutely, and I think that Coach, you look at. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of offense doesn't always travel. Where you go to Great Bend and play at Barton, and that's a tough place to play. That's a tough place to make shots. You go to the Hutchinson Sports Arena, that's a tough place to make shots. You go to El Dorado in the Power Plant, that's a tough place to make shots. And so you're absolutely right. In an environment where there could be a lot of fans and loud noise and a different atmosphere, the 80% of the crowd is rooting for you to fail. I think that having a defense that can keep it, a 3-point game, a 4-point game, while your offense kind of heats up and gets their groove and finds their footing and kind of takes that deep breath. I mean, that's huge, because we see teams not just in this league but all across junior college and all across college basketball that don't have that luxury. And if you start off slow on the road and don't have a good defense or an elite level defense, you can find yourself down 15 points at the end of the first quarter, and that's a tough mountain to climb.
Oh, it's a very tough mountain to climb in this league. And, even think back to the regional. I know I'm looking way ahead, and the regional tournament is at 4 days. I mean, I ain't played there. I don't know when's the last time I've been in their gym. And me as a player, as a coach, as everything, I can't tell you the last time I've been in their gym. And it's going to be a whole different atmosphere out there. You got to make it there first. But again, we're going to be walking in, if we can make it there, and in unfamiliar territories, and we got to guard. That's one point of our conversation. And if you ever come in our locker room before the game, after the game, timeout practices, you hear defense come out of my mouth probably 70 to 80% of the time, man, because that's what it's all about.
No doubt about it. It's our Red Raven Coaches Show live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. Got a fun show for you here coming up until 7 tonight before the Red Ravens take on Fort Hays Tech tomorrow night at Nellis Hall. Let's take a quick 90-second timeout. When we come back, we'll have more with Coach Turner as the Ravens return home to take on the Fort Hays Tech Tigers, looking for their 15th win of the season. We're back in 90 seconds on US 98. Back here on the Red Raven Coaches Show, live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shane Neal, joined by head coach Tony Turner as we talk Lady Raven basketball. Back at Nellis Hall this week for 2 home games against Fort Hays Tech and Colby. 4 of your next 5 at home, Coach, with your only road game for the next couple weeks being to Independence. So this is kind of rare in the landscape of the Jayhawk Conference that you get to stay pretty close to home for the next couple weeks. So I know you and your team looking forward to that.
Hey, I may jog the Independence on that day if the weather's nice, you know. But no, it'll be nice to play in front of our great fans and, you know, kind of come out and show them what we can do and kind of how much this team has grown a lot from since, you know, we've been on the road so much. And I know we do have several people that follow us and watch us. And, you know, it's always good to get back at home and play at home. I thought the Dodge game, I thought the crowd was phenomenal. I can go on and on about the crowd. I really feel like without them we don't win, and it was huge, man. And I want to say thank you for all the folks that were there, and I know our players and coaches do appreciate it.
And Coach, I mean, it goes. I know it's it's said to the point where it's a cliche now that, you know, the fans are the 6th man or the 12th man in football, but I completely agree with you in that late in that Dodge game, every single good moment for your team was elevated by that crowd, and every single mistake by Dodge was elevated by that crowd. And you could tell that it was making Dodge more, I don't know if it made them full-on uncomfortable, but it made them more uncomfortable than they had been. And it made your team really kind of embrace that moment, embrace that final push to the end. And like you said, I think that fan base and that night at Nellis Hall really helped this team get over the hump and take down that Dodge City team.
No, they're very talented. You know what I mean? Like, just the adversity we had as far as players being sick. And I just thought that we just stepped up and just handled our business, man, and just didn't let one little adversity thing, and not little, it's big, those girls are important to our team, but I thought we handled it well, man, and with the support of the crowd, man, and I know those players that were out were homesick, and they were rooting for us, and it's just that team basketball, that team, all that. So, yes, no, it was highly appreciated.
Absolutely. Coach, we talk about this Fort Hays Tech team, and like you had alluded to at the start of the show, it's a team that has a lot more experience than they had in late November, and it's a team that is coming off of a win unlike the first matchup with this team. And something they did do well in the first matchup between you and them was I thought they held their own very well on the glass for a team that's undersized. Got out rebounded 38-32, but I think they did a good job keeping that battle close and also forced 22 turnovers. So obviously you had talked about it earlier, but two big keys for your team is going to be win the battle on the glass and protect the basketball.
Protect the basketball, man. We got to, that part of the game is our turnover numbers is higher than what we would like it to be, and part of it we do try to play fast, and part of it is, it's just part of the game. But no, we want to cut that number down and rebounding, just like our message this week was defense and rebounding. And I thought we did a much better job paying attention to detail on that and finding a body, blocking somebody out, and we'll see how much more we got to work on it in practice tomorrow night.
No doubt. Coach, this Fort Hays Tech team is undersized on paper. They don't have a player over 6 foot. Their tallest player 5'11", but that tallest player that is 5'11" had 10 rebounds in the first matchup. So absolutely do have some players that still can get in the paint and get the rebounds. But it does seem like an opportunity for players like Alexis, players like Aubrey, players like Karis to really, I think back to the Dodge game for the men where we saw early in that game Rashid Kuda, Daniel Tomboy, Charles Caparasso just dominate in the paint. And Dodge didn't have any answers for that three down low. And I think we could see something similar with Karis and Aubrey and Narika and Alexis where if you get the right looks and you be aggressive while being controlled, I think you can really take control of that paint.
Yeah, we want to definitely, that's been our motto, our goal, our MO of our team is defense and playing inside out. And, we want to move the ball, and our forwards are starting to play with a little more patience in there instead of having to feel like they have to rush their shots. And they're growing. I think Coach Z and Coach Cam are doing a great job with them, just getting them to just relax, do their checkpoints, and then go make a play because they're athletic enough. They got great IQ. And once as they grow, our team will grow, and that is definitely one of the focal points. We want to get that inside presence.
Coach, I think that you just brought up a great point in talking about your assistant coaches, and I think obviously the age-old saying in basketball is a coach is only as successful as his players and his coaching staff. And so this is the first time since I've been here that you have 3 assistants on your staff. So if you don't mind talking about what Coach Sierra, Coach Cam, Coach Z all bring to the staff and what it's like working with them every day and get ready for games.
I feel like I got 3 of the best assistant coaches in the conference, in the country, man. Like they work extremely hard. Coach Sierra is doing the scout every week, just making sure they go into class every day, staying on top of the grades, keeping me sane when I'm frustrated and talking me through those tough moments and helping me with being a little more patient. Coach Cam, she's in the dorms with those students. She's constantly having Bible studies with them. They pray a lot. She helps them. She's a great mentor. And Coach C's a great mentor too. And they just mentor our student athletes, when they're going through rough times, talking to them, and those are just the little things that help a team grow, man. Like that, it goes a long ways when, you can talk to people when they're not having a great time. And, our players feel like they got somebody to lean on and Coach Z, I can go. She also too lives in the dorm, and she's fresh out of college, and she gets to talk about her college experience and just how it worked, what's it like at the next level. She was a Division I kid. Coach Cam was a Division I kid, and just letting and they all used. Coach Sierra went on to play at a 4-year school. Myself went on to a 4-year school, but we all used it as junior college as a stepping stone. So we went through the good, the bad, and ugly, and when all the smoke, the common part of it all was like junior college was at all of us were the best times of our lives. And not that nothing against those other schools that we went to, but junior college has been one of the best times of our lives. And so we get to relate those experiences to our players, and they listen. And just even the days that I'm being a grumpy old man, they do a good job of just keeping them grounded and keeping them understanding what it's all about. And Coach Cam played for me, so she knows, and we talk about our rough times we had and how much here, like, she's working for me, and how much, like, I respect that part of you, and you get a part of our tree, man, that we're gonna help you grow, and it just, I can go on and on about those crew of assistants, man. They do a great job.
Absolutely. And Coach, you had talked about earlier, this program really embraces that family culture, that family atmosphere with this program, and obviously it's easy to look out for your players and look out for the program when things are going well and you're winning games and everybody's happy and all that. But what really makes a family culture, Coach, is being there, being available, having somebody to talk to when things aren't necessarily going well, and when obviously with a lot of these athletes, Coach, some of them are local, but some of them aren't local and are from playing from the other side of the country or from overseas, or and it gets hard sometimes, and being away from your family and betting on yourself, if you will, to continue your athletic career. And I know Tyler Perry, when we talked to Tyler Perry, he said there were nights in the dorms where he was sitting there crying, wondering if I'm making the right decision with my life. And I know that with a lot of JUCO athletes, that those thoughts come across their minds, and to have a coaching staff that cares on and off the court, I think is just absolutely a must in a conference like this.
You have to have that. I mean, you got to have where you care about your players, and you can't. We don't have that user mentality. We tell them use us. I mean, and we're not front runners. I mean, when things are going great, heck yeah, you know what I mean. Let's go. But when things ain't going right, we're still there. Do we like to lose? We don't like to lose, but we know how to handle a loss, and when we go through those hard times, we just work even harder for them, and my crew, man, they help me with that part of being a family. And we tell our recruits, I mean, these recruits hear a lot of different things. Every coach says their own things, but I tell them all you got to do is come, man. You come to Coffeyville, we'll show you. We practice what we preach, and like I said, we it's family, and I preach to be one. And once we get all the way there, and it's sometimes it's like pulling teeth with people that's come from all over the world, different places, but we're not going to stop preaching to be one.
Absolutely. And hearing from the players from the last couple seasons, T, Bailey, Kylie, Cheyenne, Jordan, all these players that have gone on to four-year universities, when they talk about their time in Coffeyville, it's talking about the family and talking about, that every single day it was fun to go to practice. It was fun to work with this team. And I think that's obviously you want Coffeyville basketball to be the reflection of the 20-win seasons and the conference titles and the big wins over Dodge and the big wins over Hutch. But at the end of the day, hearing your players say that's the reflection of Coffeyville basketball that really stands out.
Those parts are priceless, man. Like, we still talk to those girls to this day, man. Like, that just, we talk to their parents. I mean, we follow them. I mean, when things ain't going their way at their colleges, we call them, we talk to them, and just kind of like let them know we're there for them. And every one of them was like, Coach, we wish y'all was here. Like, and I always say, man, if you have a hard time playing for Coach Turner, man, I don't know who else you can play for. I tell them that all the time. But no, we do track them and stay on top of them, and we see if they're not playing a lot or whatever's going on, even when they're doing good. And it was Kennedy's birthday the other day, and we told her happy birthday, and just what it's all about, man. Like, it's part of the tree, it's part of the growth, it's part of all of it, man. And we want you to come to Coffeyville and have a great experience educationally, all that, a college life, and when you leave here, we want you to grow and be just a great individual on and off the court. And that's definitely the who we are. Do we love to win? Heck yeah, we love to win, but we also we value the family side of it.
Absolutely. Coach, great stuff. Last thing I have for you, and appreciate your time on a rare Wednesday edition of the show, but you had alluded to it earlier, but a big win at home against Dodge and then an overtime win against Barton takes a lot of energy out of you. It takes a lot of obviously, there's a lot of emotions that go into that last week, but you're back at home and you take on a team that's had some struggles this year, but like you had talked about, is coming off of a win. What's going to be the key to coming out at Nellis Hall locked in, ready to go, ready to play in front of that home crowd and handle your business here in game one of this homestand?
Well, the first step is I'll tell them if we don't play hard, we're going to practice after the game. No, I'm joking. But no, we will. We'll stay locked in as a coaching staff. We'll, usually in these games, I'm kind of a little more grumpier because I remember when I was 18, 19-year-olds, when you're looking at standings and all that stuff, and we got a number behind us. We're going to get everybody's best shot. So I have to stay I got to stay grounded. I got to stay on top of things, and because when I get lax, they get lax. And so as long as I stay on that, keep my foot on the gas, they'll come in locked in, ready to go.
Great stuff. Lady Ravens back at home. They take on the Fort Hays Tech Tigers tomorrow night. Coach Tony Turner, good enough to join us. Coach, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's take a 90-second timeout. When we come back, we shift focus to the men's team. Assistant Coach Jordan Bailey, point guard Justin Taylor join us in 90 seconds on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network, live from Wendy's. Coach Turner, great as always. And now we shift focus to the men's team, talking Red Raven men's basketball with assistant coach Jordan Bailey and point guard Justin Taylor. I'll tell you what, Coach Herc loses one league game, and now all of a sudden he's busy on the night of the coaches show. He went Hollywood on me.
Got work to do. Shay.
But appreciate you guys filling in, and some great stuff, obviously. Your team number 13 in the nation in the most recent rankings. We talked about it a little bit with Rashid after the win over Dodge, but I know that still plenty of work to do with this team. Go win a conference championship, go win a national championship, but to be both first-year guys in this program and sit here and be a top 15 team in the nation and have some big wins already this year on the road against Hutch, against Butler, against Garden City. What is the feeling at the halfway point? Because obviously, like I said, more work to be done, but I think it's also I think there's the ability to sit back and be proud of what has transpired so far.
Yeah, I mean, after going through the first round of this conference, and you and I talk about it every time I'm on your show, it's night in and night out. And we learned a lot about this group through the first round, and, we learned a lot about ourselves and what it takes to show up every night. And, thinking about the Dodge game, played really well in the first half, and then had a little bit of a drop-off in the second. We lost the last 6 minutes 13-2, and that just kind of left a bad taste in our mouth going into, the next game. And you don't want those. We talked about how the standard was the standard, and that's every night. But, yeah, this group, to your point, has just continued to get better and better and learn and fight.
Well, and you talk about, the cliche, Coach, is you can't win a championship early in the season, but you can lose it. You can take yourself out of it. And this team has, for the most part this season, handled their business at Nellis Hall, and they've still won a couple of games on the road in league play, and can't win the Jayhawk Conference Championship in mid-January, but you can set yourself up to be one of those contenders and be in the race for the conference championship. That's exactly what this team's done. Second place, one game out of first. You got to like where you're sitting.
Yeah, like you said, we had some very big road wins that first round, have some big road games coming up in the second round that we need to handle and take care of home. 4 of our next 5 here at home, and then the one that's not at home is up the road a little ways.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I need to take care of this stretch for sure.
Justin, I want to talk a little bit from a point guard's perspective on just the impressiveness of I look at the starting five, and you see how many names have been in and out of that lineup this year, and it's because of how many talented guys are on this team. But we've seen Relia get some starts. We've seen Daniel get some starts. We've seen Rashid and Charles. We've seen Trent. We've seen Jeremiah. We've seen KUSN. I think that just about Constantine, just about everybody on this roster at some point or another has been in that starting five this year. And it's not because guys have necessarily played their way out of the starting five. It's because this team has so many weapons, so many guys that can make an impact that on a game-to-game basis, it almost feels like you can draw 5 names out of a hat. It's going to be a pretty good starting five.
Right. And I think that's just a testament to our versatility and how many just good players we have on our team, how many unselfish guys we have on our team who are willing to come off the bench or willing to take a starting role. And I just think that just shows why we've been so good lately.
Justin, we've talked to you a couple of times this year. We talked before the season started. We've talked a couple of times after some games. But now that you're officially halfway through your season in JUCO here in Coffeyville, what are your overall thoughts? What are some of the fun, the enjoyment you've had, some of the good memories, and what are you most looking forward to in this second half as you go chase a conference championship?
For me, mostly it's just been appreciating the moment. Never get too high, never get too low, because you never know. Like you said, you can't win a championship in January. And it just as well as you can win games and be on a pedestal, you can lose them. So I've had a lot of conversations with the guys, and we've talked about, how we can just maintain consistency as a team. And we've had conversations about it because we've just, you can let rankings get to your head and stuff like that. And I just want the team to stay humble and appreciate every game and just continue to focus on the process of winning and being consistent.
Absolutely. I know you, Coach Bailey, you always talk about how the Jayhawk is the SEC of JUCO, and I know at some point this year the SEC had like 11 teams in the top 25, and I think if the Jayhawk conference wouldn't beat up on each other so much, that we might have that day where there's 7-8 teams in the Jayhawk in the junior college top 25.
No doubt.
Because there is that amount of talent. I mean, we saw this past week. We've seen Independence go to Barton and beat the Cougars. We've seen Hutchinson drop some games this year. We saw Dodge win at the buzzer against Indy. It's just it's like you said. I mean, in this league, it seems like, and we'll talk about it with Fort Hays Tech, everybody's got a star. Everybody's got some guys that can shoot. Everybody's got some athletes. Everybody's got some big guys. And if you catch a team on a bad night, anybody can get anybody.
Absolutely. And I hope, I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of our fans are also KU and K-State fans. So I hope I don't lose any love by calling this the SEC of JUCO and not the Big 12. But, no, you're absolutely right. And there's so much talent in this conference, and it is top to bottom the best league in junior college, and that's why these guys come to Coffeyville and come play in it. They want to play against the best, and they want to develop their game against the best, and that's what you want as a player. But this group, they've really bought into that challenge and that understanding that you can't take anyone for granted. And no matter who's next up on the schedule, you have to take them serious regardless of their record.
No doubt about it. And I think I'd love to get both of your thoughts on this, but something that's been so interesting to me in my time here is you had talked about the standard and the Coffeyville basketball tradition, the championships and the 20-win seasons and the national rankings. And I think that, obviously you don't play college basketball or coach in college basketball without wanting to win every single game you play in, of course. But what's the feeling like for two guys that are in their first year in Coffeyville, just being a part of a program where the Barton game, I think, is a great example. You go on the road to play the defending national champions. You lose a game where they played really well, shot the ball really well, played great defense, and not a single person in that locker room is okay with that. Everybody thinks that, I can't wait to go up against them again, and here's the things that we could have done differently. There's, I think, so many teams around junior college basketball that would have just been like, it was the defending national champions on the road in their house. That was going to be a tough game to get. And that's my favorite thing about this program is the expectation, the standard is every single night you expect to be the best team in the building.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two new guys. I think a part of that also comes from just sitting back and listening to someone else, let someone else lead. For me, listening to Kimboy or Charles or Brian, or Des, people who have already played in this league and know how good it is. And Coach Herc always reminds us, respect your opponent, because everyone's good every single night. You can lose any game, whether you're a top seed, whether you're a bottom seed. So, and it really keeps you on your toes just playing in this conference and knowing that every night is going to be a battle, home, on the road, regardless.
Yeah, and that, what you're alluding to, Shay, that expectation that you should win every night, I mean, that's just a testament to what Coach has built over the last 30 years. I mean, that expectation comes from winning almost every night. I mean, the winning percent, I don't know what his career win percentage is, but
it's high.
If I'm blessed enough to have that high of a win percentage as a head coach, I'd probably expect to win every night too.
No doubt.
And but that confidence is instilled in all of us. Yeah. I mean, from day one.
Oh, and it's something you said after the Barton game, Coach, is, if Coach Herkelman, something I've learned is if Coach Herkelman isn't worried, then you don't need to be worried
Absolutely.
about it. And I think that, like you said, it's a marathon of a season, and very, very rare that a team goes 38-1 and wins the national championship. Those are special teams, special seasons. Almost everybody that gets to the national tournament is going to have 4, 5, 6 hiccups over the course of a full season, and it's all about just who is playing the best team basketball, who makes the least amount of mistakes. And this team, I know, has been a big focus on a night-to-night basis, and it will continue to be to continue to execute every play, make the least amount of mistakes you can, and just handle it one night at a time.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit as well. You had alluded to Brian being one of the guys that obviously is a leader of this team, and I talked to Brian earlier this year. Brian, when he first got to Coffeyville, was a very quiet guy. Very quiet guy. You'd be lucky if you got a couple words out of him.
Right.
Something that I had noticed that he was more vocal and more of a leader for this team this season. And I talked to him and I said, "What was so different for you?" And he said that I got sick of losing. I felt like a big reason why we struggled last year was because we didn't have a leader. We didn't have somebody that was willing to step up and be that guy. And so I kind of just became that guy. And so I want to hear a guy that is next to Brian on the court for 40 minutes a night almost, and a guy that's with him every single day. And Coach Herc said you guys are great friends off the court as well. What has it been like, going through the process, not just going through the games, but going through the process, practice, in the film sessions, and just working with a guy like Brian Griffith?
I love Brian. Love him on the court. Love him off the court. He's a great player. We have a lot of conversations, just me and him, and he talked a lot about last year and how last year went. And when I got here, he talked to me a lot about how he wanted things to be different, because he didn't want to be one of those teams that just got swept under the rug because of a lot of losing mentality. So he's really taking it upon himself, and I'm proud of him as a friend and as a teammate, that he's able to. He's not afraid to hold anybody accountable, and just as much as he'll hold someone else accountable, he holds himself accountable. And we just really need that, especially out of a guy like him, who's one of our top leader, one of the leaders on our team, and a starter on our team as well.
Absolutely. Coach, kind of a similar question, but spun in a different way. For you being on this coaching staff now, Justin alluded to Charles and Dez and Kimboy and Brian, the returners to this program that went through last season, that went through the struggle and went through the tough nights, where it felt like this team constantly last year was so close to kicking down the door and just couldn't quite get that door kicked down. But what have you seen from that from early in the season and the summer workouts to what they bring to the court and what they bring every day now, and just really embracing being that leaders of this basketball team to kind of make sure that it is different?
Yeah, I mean, Justin alluded to it well. I think they had a bad taste in their mouth. When I got here in June, it was obvious that those guys that were here from last year's team wanted things to be different, and they knew they could be, but they knew there had to be work that went into it to get them there. And all throughout June and then in through the fall, and just that work was evident. I mean, the mentality, whether it was getting in extra shots or getting in extra workouts or making sure they were eating in the calf or getting enough sleep. I mean, the mentality was there from day one that I got here with those guys. And even though some of those sophomores may not be leading scorers every night, we have great sophomore leadership through those guys that went through that and in the locker room. And that's the stuff that people don't see, right? The conversations. This group is so tight off the floor as much as they are on it, and people don't see that. But they hang out outside of the gym. They're in the locker room hanging, and it helps that we got probably the nicest locker room in the country now. But just hanging out together outside of basketball is what makes this group just a good team.
Absolutely. I can attest to that locker room comment. There's some pictures on KGGFradio.com. Shameless tease right there. Let's take a quick 90-second timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the matchup with Fort Hays Tech and the upcoming homestand here for the Red Ravens. It's the Red Raven Coaches Show live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. We're back in 90 seconds on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Coach's Show live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. Shay Neal here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. We're joined by assistant coach Jordan Bailey and point guard Justin Taylor. Guys, talked to Coach Turner about it, but 4 of your next 5 at home, with the only road trip being 20 minutes up the road to Independence. So it's rare in this conference to have 5 games within 20 minutes of your home building. But I know the team looking forward to having a couple weeks where you can sleep in your beds and have kind of a normal home routine, if you will.
Yeah, we paid our dues in the first round.
That's right. That's right.
I think 7 of our first 12 were on the road.
And a lot of long road games.
Yeah. So we've earned it.
No doubt. No question about that. It starts with Fort Hays Tech Northwest coming up tomorrow night. And, Coach, this is a team that really played well in the first round matchup with this team. And you won by 4, but it's a team that has, I think, a really underrated offense in the landscape of this conference. They have some shooters, John Truline, as well as a couple others as well. They have some length as well. And then, of course, maybe the best scoring point guard in this conference. I know Independence has an argument there, and Hutchinson has an argument there. But Chase Harris, one of the toughest point guards in this league. Yeah. And last I checked, Chase is number 1 in scoring in the conference at 23, just over 23 a game. Yeah, you said it. I mean, they've got a lot of tools, a lot of good players, and they put them in positions to be really good. Yeah. I mean, they spread the floor, they drive you, they want to play at a really fast tempo, and they do a good job. That's why, and they're 3-2 after the break. Yeah. And so they're playing really well right now and have really good pieces. Well, what's I guess when you've played every team in the league once now, you can kind of compare styles and team. Like, I think that when we saw, for instance, I think, the way that Butler plays, the way that Independence plays, similar. There's differences, but the pace is pretty similar, and the way that they want to go up and down the floor and get extra possessions. But how would you, from a coaching perspective and from a player perspective, what would be, for somebody listening that maybe doesn't know the ins and outs of all the teams in the league, the best comparison for a Fort Hays Tech to maybe another team you've seen this year?
Yeah, I mean, they're guard dominant, and so, we talked about, Dodge City. They're kind of comparable to Dodge, which that game, I believe, went to overtime when they played them just a couple weeks ago. And so that, that's the kind of style, and teams like Butler, like Cowley that want to play at a fast pace and fast tempo, and just really talented guard play for sure.
Absolutely. And Coach, in this, a theme of this team this year obviously has been strong defense. You went into, I haven't checked since Saturday, but I know you went into the Barton game, the number 3 defense in the league. And I think that one of the big keys for this defense this year has been playing good defense on opposing stars. I think that obviously some of the caliber of players in this league, you're not going to hold a guy that averages 20 a game to 2 points. But you can hold him to a frustrating 12. And I think this team has done that at a pretty good clip this year of taking the other team's best scorer and making life difficult for him to get that 15, 20 points. So you had success against a guy like Chase Harris in round number 1. He had 17 points, but again, it was some struggles from the field, and then some other guys as well that really kind of stepped up. But what goes into that scout when you're looking at teams in this league and circling their star players, circling their leading scorers, and what's kind of I know it changes if it's a guard or if it's a forward, but what's kind of the overall theme of trying to make a star's life uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think you said it. You want to make them uncomfortable. I mean, you don't want them to have easy baskets, easy opportunities. You got to know where they are when we change into the floor. You got to know where his spots are and what he wants to do, and just kind of make life hard for him. You can't, a good player is going to get his. I mean, you can't expect to hold him scoreless, but you can expect to make them work for everything they get. And if they work for everything they get and then end up with 20, you just shake their hand and say, yeah, he's a good player. But you want to make that as hard as possible.
Coach, this team has been a pretty successful rebounding team this season and for most of the year, but in the Fort Hays Tech game, you did lose that rebound battle, 33-28. So what is going? I know obviously Daniel and Rashid and Charles have proven night in, night out that they can go and get those rebounds at a really high level. I think Daniel's still in the top, at least top 10, maybe even top 5 in rebounds in the league. But what's going to be the key to flipping that number in that rebound battle? Because obviously that's a big key to winning.
Yeah, and we're a much different team than we were that first game. That was the first game in conference season. We were just coming off the NEO game and trying to, and still figuring ourselves out. So, the one thing, obviously they shoot a lot of threes, and when you have a lot of threes being taken, there's a lot of long rebounds. So it's a little harder than just being under the rim and getting the rebound. But guys have proven in other games that's they're capable of doing that. I think about the game at Hutch. Brian had 10 rebounds. And so our guards obviously have to help us in that. It's when you have somebody as talented, 2 guys as talented at rebounding as Daniel and Rashid have been the last couple games, it's easy to just let them do it. And that's not the case. We've got to have help from our guards in rebounding this game, as well as others moving forward. We can't just think, well, Daniel's the 5th best rebounder in the conference. He's going to get them all. He'll go every time, but he can't get them all.
Right, exactly.
So.
Justin, we talked to Trent Ruth after the game on Saturday about the turnovers. And this is a team that's really done a good job taking care of the basketball all season long. I believe that, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe it was only the second time this year that this team had 20 turnovers in a game. It's not been a recurring theme. But obviously that Barton defense gave you a look that you maybe hadn't seen this year and forced you to speed up a little bit. And so we got Trent's perspective from a point guard. We'll get your perspective from a point guard as well. What were some without giving away any of the game plan, of course, but what were some things you saw in film on how you're going to fix some of those turnovers?
I think we just need to go back to focusing on, keeping 2 hands on the basketball. A lot of the things that we talk about in practice that, just daily vitamins that you need to be doing day in and day out, or else things like that can happen. You can have 20 turnovers. So regardless of when teams are going to switch things up, and Barton definitely did a great job of, giving us different looks. But just focusing on making the right pass and keeping two hands on the ball.
Yeah, and it's no secret, Shay. You know, the game plan is we're going to try to pass the ball to the guys wearing the same color jerseys as we are.
That's a good plan.
You know, that's the game plan.
That's part of the game plan that stays consistent no matter who you're playing, whether they play fast, slow, or in between.
No secret.
That's right. That's right. Another part of this Fort Hays Tech team that stands out to me, and I'm not sure. I think he was coming off the bench early in the season. He might be in the starting lineup now. But they have one of the better kind of sixth man type players in the league in Kalik Sharp. He's got some experience. He's out of New York, and obviously a lot of good basketball players come from New York. But averaging 13 a game, he kind of has that green light where he can kind of create his own shot and go whenever he feels like he can go. And he's just another guy where I know a lot of eyes are going to be on Chase Harris. A lot of eyes are going to be on Truline because he's their best three-point shooter. But a guy like Kalik Sharp's another guy that can make you pay.
Yeah, and Truline was their leading scorer when they played us the first game. So, I mean, obviously radar's on him. But, yeah, like you said, you know, Sharp does a great job for them. He did start the last game. And you know, whether he's coming off the bench or he's starting, he's going to play big minutes. And he's another threat to create his own shot and get downhill and get to the free throw line and attack the rim in transition. And so, yeah, there's a lot of weapons on that team that we got to be ready for.
Coach, you mentioned of course, the comparison to Dodge. And I think that, you know, you look at this Fort Hays Tech team, and I have their roster right here. A lot of good players, good athletes, guys that can move up and down the floor. A guy that I remember from game one that was really good inside for his size was Monreal. But not a ton of size. They have a 6'9", they have a 6'6". Both of those guys haven't played a ton this year. So looking at that Dodge game and how Daniel and Charles and Rashid set the tone by getting inside and getting some early scores, getting you out to a fast start, what's going to be the key? I know it's a little bit different with this team, but what's going to be the key to the kind of similar idea of getting the ball inside, taking that advantage, and building up maybe an early lead by using that size?
Yeah, and another guy that is playing a lot of minutes for him now that didn't play first semester was Harold Tompkins, and he's playing a big role for them, and he adds more strength and more physicality inside than what they had the first go around. But yeah, it's no secret. That's, you know, one of the strengths of our team is our inside play, and we like to, you know, we like to play inside out and try to establish a presence in the paint, and that's every night. And offensive rebounding, you know, the kind of goes back to the standard deal. You know, we want to dominate the glass, and this group does a good job of that regardless of the opponent. You know, obviously there's some matchups that favor us better in that regard, but regardless of who we play, we're going to try to establish that for sure.
Well, with 4 of these next 5 at home, obviously you're going to be getting a lot of crowds at Nellis Hall and some hopefully energy from that sixth man, if you will. And I know they were huge in that Dodge doubleheader. Coach Turner had even said that he doesn't think they win that game without that crowd. I think back to the baseball players doing the little left-right march when Dodge's star forward fouled out of that game. I think that was my favorite moment of the season. But obviously now that the students are back on campus and the fans are rolling out to Nellis Hall, I think this next couple weeks, and obviously one game at a time, but these next couple weeks are going to bring a lot of fans, a lot of energy, and obviously as being a player, Justin, that's got to be exciting for this team. You know, looking to bounce back from that Barton game, get some wins under your belt, start a new streak, being able to do it in front of the friendly confines.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited, and the guys are very excited to be here, be able to be in that locker room, and, you know, just get excited to play. I love being in Nellis Hall, and the environment, the energy is always great.
As we put a bow on this one, guys, appreciate both of you taking some time here with us tonight. I want to get Justin's perspective on, and now that we're at the halfway point, you're a guy that's played, you know, a lot of college basketball in your time, but you've seen Barton, you've seen Butler, you've seen Hutchinson, you've seen Cali. Now, I'm not going to bait you into picking who's the best team in the league and who's second and all that kind of stuff. But as a guy that's played some college basketball and as a guy that's now seen every team in the league, what do you see from this group that they need to improve on, that they need to take to that next level to beat a Cali, to beat a Barton, to beat a Butler, to beat a Hutch when February and March roll around?
Right, and those are very good teams, but I think that we need to focus mostly on consistency. We've had a lot of conversations about it, and like you said against Barton, having 20 turnovers, something that, you know, we don't usually do, or against Fort Hays, not really rebounding that well. We just need to be able to be the team that can do the things that you can do every night. You know, you can't always count on the ball going in the basket. You can't always count on getting a better whistle. You can't always count on that, but, you know, just being able to focus and always get rebounds, focus on playing defense, and not turning the ball over.
Great stuff. Justin Taylor, Jordan Bailey, good enough to join us tonight on the Red Raven Coaches Show. Ravens in action against Fort Hays Tech tomorrow. They'll also have the Colby Trojans coming up on Saturday as they kick off a stretch of 4 out of 5 at home in 5 straight games in Montgomery County. Guys, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. Did a good job coming out of the bullpen and filling in for the head hunt show here tonight.
Thanks, Shay. Thanks for having us, and we'll make sure Coach Ruckelman's back next week.
Big thanks to Andrew and Amber for all of their help with Red Raven Sports Network. Big thanks to Scott back in the studio for running it for US 98. I'm Shane Neal saying so long, good night from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. We'll be back at it next Thursday. This was a one-time thing on Wednesday. We'll be back at it next Thursday night, 6 until 7. Hopefully talking about a couple Red Raven victories here at Nellis Hall. Until then, let's get back to the music here on US 98.